Good day and welcome to Realpolitik Confidentials, Episode 2. I am your host, Alexandru Crișan, and today it is the 5th of June 2025. Today we will discuss crops, bombers, and broken orders. Welcome back to Realpolitik Confidential. This isn't just your average news recap, as you know. This is where power games are deconstructed brutally and without sentiment. Today, from American farms to Russian airbases, from the South China Sea to Trump's phone log, we trace the thin threads of a changing world. Let us begin. For our first subject, we will discuss, quote-unquote, the fungus plot, agroterrorism and asymmetrical warfare. The headlines were bizarre. A Chinese researcher at the University of Michigan caught with soil fungus in her boots. Her boyfriend guiding her by WeChat. Inside the pages of a male textbook, more vials were found. The target? American wheat, corn and livelihoods. And here's what's beneath the surface. This wasn't just scientific malpractices that just simply occurs at times. The fungus Fusarium graminearum is no joke. It devastates crops and produces a toxin harmful to humans and animals. It's been labeled by the Federal Bureau of Investigation and the Department of Homeland Security as a potential agroterrorism agent. The goal of this potential operation? Not to kill soldiers, but to quietly destroy food systems. After all, why use missiles when mold will do? Agroterrorism is increasingly being examined as a viable weapon in asymmetric warfare. Think about it. Food systems are vast and are vulnerable and lightly protected generally. In the modern battlefield, economic sabotage is just as strategic as a missile strike. The case of the Chinese couple might be just a test run, a soft probe. Next time it could be more coordinated and far more devastating with implications worldwide. This war is war by contamination, and America may not be ready to face it. For our second subject, we will discuss the phone call between Trump, Putin, and the possibility, or perhaps we should say the certainty, of retaliation for Operation Spiderweb. Let us shift from soil to steel. This week, Donald Trump took a call on the other end, the Russian President Vladimir Putin. What began as a routine quickly became radioactive. Vladimir Putin, calm but pointed, said, "We will have to respond." He was referring to Ukraine's latest drone strike, Operation Spiderweb. Trump's recounting of the call is revealing. No admonition, no deterrent language, just acknowledgement. He also hinted at the Russian willingness to help on the Iran file. I am of course referring about the Iran nuclear deal. Translation? Well, a chess game. Ukraine's future possibly on the table next to uranium centrifuges. Trump's position wasn't confrontational. It was negotiator-in-chief at work. Whether that's strategy or appeasement, that depends on your personal lens. But here's what's clear. Putin is angry, the US president is not calling for restraint, and in the shadow of the silence, Russia may feel emboldened to escalate. The message from the Kremlin was unmistakable. The skies are over from the standpoint of security. The skies over Russia are no longer safe, and retaliation is just a matter of scale and of timing. For our first subject, we will discuss the Asian pivot and the end of the Pax Americana. While the Trump-Putin theater plays out in the north, the real gravity shift is happening further east. The US is pivoting again to Asia, but this time with no illusions. The Pax Americana is fading. The unipolar moment is over. The Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, put it very plainly. America can no longer afford to focus on Europe. The Indo-Pacific is now the front. Why China? Why should we focus on China of all things? Well, Beijing is no longer an emerging power. It's the peer competitor, economically, technologically, and militarily. Its navy is vast, its ports global and ever expanding, and its shipbuilding output dwarfs that of the United States. What does that mean for freedom of navigation? That post-war American guarantee that all the global trade is based on? Well, that means the freedom of navigation is cracking. The South China Sea is a weapons showcase, and the Strait of Hormuz is mined. The Black Sea is choked. Sea lanes are now tactical arenas, and the world's economy floats on shipping, and shipping is vulnerable. Global power is no longer about who controls land. It's about who can stop your ships. And now, for the first time in 80 years, the answer might no longer be the United States of America. For our first subject, we'll discuss the famous Operation Spiderweb, or how drones burned Russia's strategic bombers. Let's talk about Spiderweb. Ukraine drones and Russian bombers, and then silence. Not the silence of stealth, but the silence of shocked disbelief. On Sunday, a coordinated swarm of Ukrainian FPV drones hit 4 Russian airbases. These weren't long-range missiles. They were cheap, small, built piece by piece and smuggled into Russian territory. The result, over a dozen strategic bombers damaged or destroyed, including Tupolev 95s and Tupolev 22Ms, which represent the backbone of Russia's long-range strategic nuclear capability. The West watched, and so did China. Everybody got the message. War has irrevocably changed. You don't need a stealth bomber to fight a superpower. You just need nerve, technology, and a new playbook. This wasn't just a tactical win. It was a psychological decapitation of Russian perception on air supremacy. Moscow's military mythology punctured from within. No infantry crossed the border, no airstrike entered through the radar. The SBU redefined sabotage from the drone age. But the risks are profound, and the Kremlin called it a strike on nuclear assets, which is one of the few red lines in the modern war playbook. That's not just propaganda, it's escalation groundwork. And the fallout, politically, militarily, and strategically, has only just begun. In conclusion, let's look at the big picture, as we always do. Well, if I had to give a title, I would say, welcome to the real world of multipolarity. Let's zoom out. A fungus plot on American soil, a phone call between 2 presidents, the end of oceanic certainty, and the swarm of drones torching bombers in the heart of Russia. This isn't a series of isolated events. This is the architecture of a new world forming in front of us. The end of Pax Americana means more than lost prestige for the West. It means contested seas, hedging allies, and nuclear posturing. It means asymmetric warfare is no longer the exception, but it has become the rule. China tests the seas, Ukraine tests the skies, and the US itself is being tested at home, economically, biologically, and politically. In this new game, the old rules no longer apply. They are irrelevant. They go out the window. Strategic ambiguity, dual-use tech, grey zones, hybrid warfare. It's all realpolitik now. So what does the world look like after the order breaks? After the lights go down? Well, it looks like this. And it looks like now. Thank you for listening. This has been episode 2 of Realpolitik Confidential, and I have been your host, Alexandru Crișan. And remember, don't blink. The story doesn't pause between broadcasts. Follow us for more daily and flash briefings. And remember to follow us on TikTok. And remember, less ideology, more analysis. That is the smart way to go. Thank you. and I bid you a very lovely day.